Coats exist. Coats exist. Coats exist. Hey, what's going on? This is another episode of Coats Exist. I just got home from work. I come home and I'm filthy. I'm disgusting every single day. I'm full of grime and graphite and I stink. And I noticed that my neighbor's car was getting towed, and it's pretty funny because the other day when I was sitting outside, he was cleaning his car with one paper towel and a bottle of Windex, and he kept like, and he would wipe and he'd go, Coats exist. But so that was funny. That was a real hoot. So today I'm gonna talk about by the way, real quick, I upload all these, every single podcast I do, no matter how bad it is, I upload to Spotify and Apple Podcasts, but the ones that I think are decent, whatever, I put on YouTube. Trying to get better. I have this little teeny mic, but anyway, so today I'm going to talk about my comedy journey. No, that's lame. I am going to talk about it, but I think I'll title it How I Got Into Comedy, because that sounds more manly. How I got into comedy, What are you going to do? But I don't know why I got to do voices. What the hell? Coats exist. Coats exist. But yeah, I'm going to talk about that. But first, let's get to our sponsors. We're brought to you by, I have this Mike Tyson glove. He signed it. I paid $250 for it. He's one of the only celebrities that I wanted to see in person. Him and Jack Nicholson, I think, are the two celebrities that I wanted to see. Like, I didn't want to talk to them. Like, I have no desire to meet anybody, but I just wanted to see him, like, in person. And I saw him tell his story, Mike Tyson, that is, his life story. And he was, so there was a curtain, and the curtain slowly lifted up, and he was sitting all alone in a chair, like, with his chin on his fist, like, he was just smiling, and he just sat there smiling for like I'd say a good 4 minutes. He just sat there smiling, and it was hilarious. Like, he knew he was being funny for sure. I was like, this is Mike Tyson just sitting there, like, doing physical comedy. This is so awkward. But yeah, and then I didn't understand a word he said for the next hour and a half, but it was worth it just because I got to see him. And then I got this boxing glove with his signature, I guess. I don't know. It was some white dude out front with a bunch of boxing gloves on a table, so it could be his signature, could not. I don't know, but I'm hoping it is, because I like to touch it once in a while and be like, there was a pen in his hand that touched the ink. Well, he might not have touched the ink. Anyways, point is, me and Mike Tyson are best buddies. But, so yeah, I wanted to talk about, I do comedy. I do stand-up comedy. I wasn't a huge stand-up fan. I was never like a big stand-up comedy fan. Like, I liked, when I was younger, I liked like Dane Cook and man, it's gonna make me look like an idiot. But I like Dane Cook and like Mitch Hedberg and Patrice O'Neal, Bill Hicks. And when I was like really younger, I was obsessed with Andy Kaufman. But I was never like today I'll go to an open mic and I'll be standing outside and everybody will be talking about like different podcasts and different new comedians, and I'm like, I have no idea who you're talking about. I have no, I can't get into like Tom Segura. I'm sure they're great guys and they're hilarious, but like I've never like watched like a full stand-up thing, a set that they've done. Like I've watched a little bit of Joe Rogan, but I don't know. In my mind, like, comedy's supposed to be silly and goofy. You know what I mean? Like Norm Macdonald. It's just supposed to be silly. Like Jim Carrey falling down, making goofy noises. That's funnier to me than political stuff, even though I like Bill Hicks. But I like silly stuff. So, like fart noises. I do like Mark Normand and Shane Gillis. But most of my favorite comics are local guys. But anyways, the point is that I was never like a huge, like, you want to talk movies? I'm a huge movie guy. I love movies, like obsessively. It's one of those things that like I could read who directed a movie one time and I'll remember it for the rest of my life, like every actor's name, blah, blah, blah. But like comedy, I was never like a huge comedy nerd, comedy fan. So but I always wanted to do it. I always wanted to like really, really try it and get into it, and I never knew how. Like, 'cause I had this coworker once who said to me, "This is gonna sound so egotistical telling the story about how you're supposed to like have other people tell your story." But I had a coworker once. He said to me, because I was like being funny. He's like, "I just want to pay you to follow me." Like, he's like, "I want to pay you to follow me around like on job sites and just like talk in the background." And I was like, "Oh wow!" And it's like he didn't realize like how much that really affected me. I was like, "Am I funny? Am I really that funny?" So like, I started writing stuff down that I thought was funny, blah blah blah. And I had no idea how to get into comedy. No clue. Absolutely no idea. I know that sounds so ignorant, but I was so scared to get into it that I wouldn't even look it up I wouldn't even look up how to get into comedy. I wouldn't even Google it. I was just so terrified because that means that I was taking a first step, and it would like I'd get like so scared that it would be stifling, because I was like always scared of talking in front of people ever since I was a little kid. Like, and you do book reports or whatever, talk in front of the class. I was terrified. I remember I took a college course, and they were going around the room, and all you had to do was say your name and where you're from, and I was just like dreading the moment they got to me, because you had to stand up and be like, that's how I did it. Like, nobody understood anything I said. But yeah, so I was petrified. I can't express this enough, like how scared I was to do comedy, but it was something that I like had to do because I had all these like funny ideas, and what I don't know why I was just super compelled to do it. And I'd lay in bed at night just knowing that I was never going to do it. It was one of those things that like I'd toy with the idea once in a while, but I just knew it was never going to happen, and I was just going to die never having done it. And like I never wanted like to be famous or get my own special or whatever. I didn't care about any of that. I just wanted to do it. So one day I got the balls to just, like I said, I didn't know how to start. I thought you go to New York City. I was like, oh, you got to go to New York City or some, other big city, Boston. I had no idea that there was like local open mics and stuff like that. So what I did is I Googled comedy classes, and what came up was an improv class, which is completely different. But I think it was like $80. I paid the $80 and I went. And it was the complete opposite of anything I ever wanted to do. It was like theater kids, and I love it. More power to them. That's great. They like doing that. I just didn't like. The instructor would be like, "All right, everybody's bees," and they would all run around in circles like, it was more elaborate than that. But to me, I was just like, "What? This is not what I'm interested in at all." So I only took 2 classes, and I bowed out. And then, but what I did learn is that there was a comedy class, but I missed it. So they're like, yeah, just sign up next year. And I was like, oh, next year? Jesus Christ. I was 31 when I took the improv class. So next year I was 32 when I signed up for the stand-up class. And the day of the class, it was like $100. And the day of the class came, I was so scared that I didn't even go. I was like, whatever. I was terrified. And then I was so beaten up that I paid that money and I didn't go, and I felt like such a loser. And I was like, well, that's just what it is. At least I took some kind of step to do it. Like, the fear, I can't express how unbelievable the fear was. It was like, and it's not because I was a pussy. It was because, right now there's somebody like, oh, it's because you're a pussy. Well, it's fine. But it was because I didn't want to put myself out there and be that much, like, I didn't want to put myself out there and then realize that I sucked, because in my head I was funny. I was like, oh, I'm funny, and then I didn't want to put myself out there and find out that I wasn't funny. So, and then just talking in front of people on top of that was just terrifying. So what happened is another year goes by, and I sign up again to this comedy class, still not looking up open mics, still having no idea that there's, local open mics that you could go to. You don't have to pay this money to go. But I paid $150, and I was like, oh, this time I'm going to go. So it was the day of the class. It was the morning. I think I had to be there by 1 o'clock or something in the afternoon. So I remember I was like, I don't want to go. I'm not going to go. Screw it. This is, whatever. Another $150 down the drain. And I was like, you know what? Just take a shower and get dressed. So I did that. And I was like, you know what? Just get in the car. Just go sit in the car and start it up. You don't have to go anywhere. Because the comedy class was like 40 minutes away. So I sat in the car, I started it up, and I just sat there for a second. And I was like, you know what? just drive. Just start driving. You don't have to go on the highway to try to get there. Just start driving. I don't know if you could hear that plane in the background or a helicopter. So I was like, that's really annoying. The fucking goddamn helicopter. So I was like, just drive. Just start driving. You don't have to go in any direction. Just start driving. So I started driving, and I was like, you know what? Just get on the highway. So I got on the highway. Make a long story short, I ended up the 40 minutes away where I had to be, and I was about a mile away, and I was like, you know what? Just go sit in the parking lot. You don't have to go in. Just sit in the parking lot. So I was taking it step by step. So then I sat in the parking lot, and I was looking at the building. It was right in front of me, and I saw the door opening and closing, people going in and out. And I called my girlfriend at the time, and I was like, I can't do this. And she's like, just go inside, whatever. Just go inside, see what's up. So I hung up with her, and I went, So I was like, I got out of the car, I closed the door, and I'm like terrified. I'm like shaking to go to a comedy class. Not to go on stage, to go to a comedy class. So I go inside, and there was a woman at the front desk, and she's like, "Oh, are you here for the comedy class?" And I was like, I don't know. And she's like, "Oh, it's down that hallway." And I was like thinking in my head, all right, just go. And I could see the door. I looked, I turned down, I could see down the hallway, and I saw on the left there was a door, and I knew that was where the comedy class was. And I was like, all right, I said, thank you. And I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, I'm just going to walk past there, turn my head, look in, and then walk by, and then just get in my car and drive home. So then I'm walking towards that. I'm walking towards the door. And then the instructor, this guy named Ryan Hill, he pokes his head out right as I get to the door, and he's like, "Hey, you here for the comedy class?" And I was like, yeah. He's like, "Oh, come on in." So I came in, and I sat down, and that was it. The rest is history. Now I have a Netflix special. No. But, so, I was still terrified, and I was afraid that we were going to have to go up and talk in front of the class. But we didn't. We just had to introduce ourselves, and, I think we had to say who our favorite comedian was or something like that. So, came around to me. I was terrified. Stood up, said my name. I forget who I said was my favorite comedian. Patrice O'Neal, probably. And then, yeah. So, to make a long story short, there was a day we had to write 5 minutes. I think it was like the fourth or fifth class in. By the way, I know that there's a lot of people who do comedy that think comedy classes are lame and they're for pussies, and I get all that, and that's funny to me because it doesn't really matter where you start. Like, what is now that I've started that way, anyways, let me get to the point. So there was a day we had to write our 5 minutes and stand up in front of the class and do our 5 minutes in front of the class. So I was dreading this day. Just the class of people that we've been seeing every day for the last 4 classes. You know what I mean? So I've seen these people. I got to know their names. I've talked to them. Now I got to stand up in front of them, and I got to do 5 minutes that I wrote. And I had some jokes pre-planned, that I've been writing, over the last couple of years. So I put them all together. And the day of this class, I was just dreading this class where I had to go, and all I had to do was stand up at my seat and say the jokes. So I wrote them all down in index cards, and it was the day finally came. I went in, and I stood up in front of the class, and I was shaking. I was terrified. My voice was quivering, and I'm reading off these index cards, shaking, literally shaking, like physically. They could see my hand shaking, and I'm throwing them on the ground after I'm done. I'm just like, I just shit my pants, and then I fucking was, and I'm throwing them on the ground. And after people are laughing, they're probably laughing at me because I look so goofy. And after I did it, I felt so happy. I was like, I did I don't have to come back ever again. I did comedy. And then, so yeah, then there was like a graduation thing, and we went, and the host said to the crowd, just, be nice to them, because this is, whatever, so give them laughs, even if they're not that funny. He said basically something like that. And so it was like a theater full of people, and, I did my thing. I was wasted. I got wasted because I was so scared. It was unreal. And I did my thing. I don't really even remember it because I was so drunk. But, I got some laughs, whatever. And I was like, that's it. I did comedy. I don't ever have to do it again. And then a couple weeks later, my friend was like, hey, why don't you go? There's an open mic at this theater So I went to this open mic and I did that same material I did where I got laughs, and I ate shit. Like, I bombed. So it was like super embarrassing. And I was like, all right, whatever. I'm done doing comedy. But the thing about the comedy class was I met these two awesome people. There's this guy, Chris Jones, and Eric Drexler. And Eric randomly messaged me a couple weeks later, and he's like, he's like, there's a mic up in New York City, in Binghamton, New York. You should come with me. So I was like, okay. And he really pushed me to go. So I went with him, and I did some stuff, got laughs, whatever. And then every single time I would go to an open mic, I would have to do the thing where I was like, all right, just get in your car, just start it up, just now drive. And it was the reason I'm telling this story is in case, because I know this is going to be on the internet now, possibly forever. So maybe one day in the future, if we're not, combined with robots, maybe the robots will take away people's fear. But maybe there'll be somebody who's just like too scared to do something. And I don't know. You could do it.